Hi, everybody, and welcome back to From This Corner TV. I'm Marilyn Dayton, your host, and tonight I've got a very special guest with us. Her name is Dr. Jamie Lee, and I'm sure she's very familiar to most of you. She seems to know everybody I run into, and I say, oh, Jamie's going to be on our show. Really, I know her. Jamie, thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here and for my gift. Thank you. I told her I was going to do this.
Kind of a selfish gift for her to share among her friends.
I like that.
Now, I want to properly introduce Jamie because she's quite a lady. She knows a lot of good stuff, okay? So please allow me to read this. Jamie is a doctor of natural medicine. She has certification in several natural modalities, from Reiki master teacher, aromatherapy, spiritual counseling, to areas of focus studies in nutrition and herbs, has been trained as regulation thermography testing technician, and we're going to talk about thermography tonight, and is certified as a senior certified sustainability professional, focusing on the aspects of green, sustainable energy and impacts on health. That's what we're going to talk about in the second half tonight, because that is really very interesting. We're going to be talking about a couple of articles that we've come across recently. So that's a lot. You do a lot of things. You must. Are you still learning? Are you still going to school and learning more things? And
Yes, I am. After getting my Doctor of Natural Medicine and finishing a year-long internship, I decided to continue on to become an IMD, which is an integrative medical doctor.
Wow.
So I just feel like, there's always so much more to be learning about ourselves, and not just from a physical aspect, but from mind, body, and spirit. We're not just one physical thing. And we're also very connected. Our head is not detached from our body, and our body's not detached from our head. We need to be focusing on all of this. Not all of me, but all of this.
all of this. And it's all connected. Quick story. I had a tooth pulled yesterday, and so I'm kind of gappy tonight. But I've got plans to fill it in. They can make it look really good today. So I can't wait for that. So anyway, I could tell when they pulled the tooth, even though I was all, neutralized, hair numbed up. Something happened. My whole head kind of flushed. And I felt like, whoa, I'm going to take off into the outer stratosphere here. And my body got kind of goosebumpy and kind of weird. And I thought, oh, there must have been a nerve or something. But the thing is, I had a flu bug, and it was a little flu bug. I had it like for a day, but then I couldn't get rid of it, and it turned out I had an infected tooth. And I know that's something that we just talked about before we started the show tonight. Everything is connected. Everything is connected.
Yes, it is.
That's why people enjoy reflexology. That's why people enjoy Reiki. And in one of our first shows, we talked about energy.
Yes.
And the sharing of energy. It was really cool. Okay, Marilyn, stop that. And let's get on the subject of thermography.
Yes.
Now, last week, and I'm going to lead into this with a little controversial thing, but I don't care.
That's okay.
Last week, Pam Watts was one of our guests, and Pam shared with us that she'd had a mammogram, and everything was fine. And a week later, she found a lump. The mammogram did not catch the lump. Now, we're going to be talking about thermography. Can you explain what thermography exactly is?
Okay. Yes, thermography is, well, there's actually two types of thermography, just so I can clarify. There's digital thermography, which is more of an image of the body, and it looks for inflammation. It'll find hot spots in that digital kind of photograph. Where the thermography that I particularly do is European regulation thermography, which is taking it a step further. It is still looking at the gradient temperatures in the body, and there's a procedure code for it. We'll get to that later. that it's actually testing on the body. And we look at 120 points. It's non-invasive, so there's no injection, there's no radiation, no dyes or anything like that. And it's over 120 points on the body. And it's how the physiology of the body is reacting to those temperature changes. So when the testing goes on, it only takes about maybe 20 minutes, and that's because there's a 10-minute cooling period. And so again, it's looking at the physiology of the whole body, because again, we're not disconnected. We're checking your teeth, we're looking for underlying infections, blockages, toxicity, we're checking sinuses, we're checking thyroid, we're checking the lymph system. Because even though something may show up in the breast area, doesn't necessarily mean that it's in the breast area, the actual issue. The cause could be coming from somewhere else. So that's why it's so important that we're looking at all the different aspects of the body, checking those organs, the liver, the kidneys, the gallbladder, the intestines. So we're looking at your digestive system, we're looking at your nervous system, we're looking at your lymphatic system. It's very detailed. It's a 7-page report.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. Is this the kind of thing that an image comes up and it's different colors and that kind of thing?
That does come up in the report. So there is an image and it would be printed out in a report, and I go over those images. So I can actually show somebody on the report after we fed the information from the probe into the computer, and it calculates this. This has been done for over 3 decades of studies and tests, and it's also been compared against MRIs and CAT scans and X-rays for validity of the information. But we look at a report and we actually have a scan of your body on there, so we'll be able to say, look, there's a blockage here. We can see that. We can see if there's inflammation. We can see if there's issues with toxicity, or if there's something that the body's reacting to that might be, for example, I'm going to go back to our teeth now.
My teeth.
And this has come up before, an underlying infection in the gums. That starts to impact pain in the body, digestive issues, even cold and flu-like symptoms. And then as soon as you get rid of that infection, then you notice that, oh my gosh, the pain that you might have been experiencing maybe on that side of the body, digestive issues that you were having, I mean, it really is all connected, and we look at that in detail in this report.
Now tell me this, and I know you can't guarantee it, but if Pam had thermography test, do you think that her lump would have shown up?
What we probably would have found is not necessarily the lump per se, but maybe what some underlying issues were. We probably would have seen some blockages, definitely, in the breast area, wherever that lump may have been. And then we would have investigated further. You know, there's breast exams, and I'm going to just very quickly reference, because mammograms are not a slam. I guess I should say the decision to have a mammogram is not a slam dunk. And there was an article February 11th in the New York Times that talks about the doubts and value of a mammogram. And it compared mammograms to breast exams and found that it was exactly the same. What they found with mammograms was exactly what they found with breast exams. So again, we're exposing ourselves to radiation with those mammograms, and what they are finding sometimes is that those multiple mammograms can lead to cancer because of the exposure to radiation, and we'll get into the environment impacts in the second part. But again, going back to this article, this was a 25-year-long study, 90,000 women. So this wasn't something that was just done lightly. 25 years of doing this study with the mammograms. And one of the scary things is that 1 in 5 of the cancers found, and this is actually in the article, I'll read just this one sentence, found with the mammography and treated was not a threat to the woman's health and did not need treatment such as chemo, surgery, or radiation. A little bit opposite of what your friend went through, but that's 1 in 5. I don't like those odds. You know, maybe if it was 1 in 1,000, but 1 in 5 women getting treatment that they didn't need. You know, they're finding more and more that mammograms are leading to overdiagnosis, false positives. And then, of course, in the other instance, you have the other spectrum where it's not finding anything because the mammogram's not going to necessarily pick it up. And then when it does pick it up, we don't even know for sure that it's cancer. So then they're going through all this treatment because it's being treated as cancer.
Or we don't know it's cancer until they go in and take a biopsy.
Right.
which is invasive.
Yeah.
And
And the tumor, when somebody gets a tumor in the body is doing that because it's reacting to something. It's encapsulating something to protect the rest of the body. So again, how do we now get rid of that? Because it may not be cancerous. I mean, we get cancer cells going in and out of our body all the time. You know, those things move. It's when our immune system gets suppressed, when there's stressors, and I'll talk a little bit about that in our second half. That's just to keep you guys coming back. And we don't want you guys to leave. You know, we want you to stay for the second half of the show. But those stressors, you know, in the body can only take so much, and everything else, you know, stops when we have those stressors. So when you get your breakdown in the immune system. So yes, we would have picked up something in the report if she had gone and had a thermography, and we would have actually been looking at the whole physiology of the body, because something's showing up in her breast, but why is it showing up in her breast? What else is going on in the body that could be leading to that? Because again, you can take care of that lump, but if you don't make other changes, it's just going to come back. And it may come back somewhere else. If you get a mastectomy, well, if you don't change whatever caused that, where is it going to show up next in the body? And that's really kind of what thermography helps with. It really gets to the cause. It also looks for things years before symptoms may even arise. So it's a good preventive.
so you can see things that could be leading to a disease down the road
Absolutely.
and actually take action to prevent it from happening.
Exactly. And I've got people who could, you know, write stories. I mean, people who basically their life was saved from it. Their brother died from a disease that this person was on their way to, and the thermography caught it. And they made some major lifestyle changes, and this person did not die from the same disease that his brother died of.
Wow.
So
That's, yeah, you know, I'm just going to say a personal opinion here. I don't think we do enough preventive medicine in our country.
I can tell you why.
Okay, why?
Because insurance won't cover it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I'm not here to diss on the insurance. I'm not here to you know, criticize westernized medicine, because again, an integrative medical doctor kind of works in both realms and how the two can integrate. But I did work for an insurance company for 10 years. I worked for 2 medical groups before I even came to Connecticut. So I understand, and I have to tell you, even working for an insurance company, I had to fight tooth and nail to get some of my claims paid, because I had, and this is working for an insurance company, so the people out there who aren't really aware of how their plan works, and sometimes the insurance company will say, nope, that's not covered. But if you push it and you explain to them that I have certain things, you know, certain exams are covered, like a woman is entitled to have a yearly exam, whether that's done by a gynecologist, a naturopathic doctor, or a primary care physician. And that's what I had to fight for. I went to a naturopathic doctor for my yearly physical, and they wouldn't cover it.
Oh.
And so I had to fight. And it was more than one phone call and a letter. So, you know, don't just roll over. Don't sit there and say, oh, it's not covered. Really, really know your plan. Really, and it's hard for somebody who doesn't work in that field and understand. I mean, I've taken medical terminology. I understand procedure codes and diagnosis codes, but a lot of people don't, and they just end up not doing it because it's going to be an out-of-pocket expense, becomes a luxury item, and so insurances aren't doing enough on the preventive, and really.
Yeah, last week we made mention of who really has control when you become ill. Is it the disease, the doctor, the insurance company, and when can you take power and control back over your body? And, you know, that's really important. Now, thermography, to me, this is just as valuable as a mammogram, as an MRI, as an ultrasound.
And probably even more so.
Yeah.
Because you have to remember that a mammogram is only looking at the woman's breast. An MRI is only going to be a picture of, say, their head. If they're doing a CAT scan, they're doing a CAT scan of a specific area of the body where the person's going in and saying, I'm having issues here, you know, my head hurts, or I'm having stomach issues, or things like that. They're just looking at that area. They're not looking at the whole body, because again, that might be where the symptom is, but it's certainly not always where the cause is. So
is thermography covered by insurance?
some insurances will cover thermography, and that's why I encourage people. I put the procedure codes and the diagnosis codes on my website. I also put the testing procedures The testing preparations are all listed there, so they can call their insurance ahead of time and say, you know, I'm going in for this procedure code, these are the diagnosis codes, how much is covered, is it covered? I also tell people that if your insurance doesn't cover it, it's also considered a medical expense, so you can use it on your taxes as an unreimbursable medical expense. So keep track of those things. The supplements that you're paying for that your insurance won't cover, any sort of co-pays that you're paying for, anything that you're paying for, keep that stuff because you can write it off on your taxes. Another thing is some people end up having to take money out of their 401k or their IRA. One of the things with your taxes, I know taxes as well.
Good, keep going.
You can use that for education and medical expenses to help offset that, so you don't get a penalty for it, because you know you get that 10% penalty when you do early withdrawal.
Right. Yeah.
You can use that. So
That's
keep
so
track of that
cool.
stuff.
That is so cool.
Yes.
We're learning a lot here tonight.
Yeah.
I want to ask a quick question, because you had mentioned it when we were at Holly's one night. That a doctor of natural medicine is different than a naturopath.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
What's the difference?
I guess it's the in-depthness of it. They're still studying the same things, but I think that there's different depths that you go into with naturopathic doctor, with an integrative medical doctor or a doctor of natural medicine. So I think it's just, you know, the level or the detail or the depthness of it. But it's still all the same things. We're looking at nutrition, we're looking at environmental impacts, we're looking at the person holistically, we're finding out about the relationships. Where do you work? Where do you live? What do you do? It's still the same overall. It's funny because when I see clients and I start to have a conversation with them and they're like, yeah, I felt really bad, you know, I was doing this and then I started doing this and I felt better, and I'm like, okay, so you see where that's going. You felt better when you started doing this and not so good when you were doing this, and you know, it was just really kind of helps guide them. And you know, because our bodies are designed to heal themselves, and we do have the answers, and sometimes it's just guidance. That's sometimes what it is. But also, we don't know what we don't know either. So you know,
that's for sure.
It's like I'm outside doing this, and I'm thinking it's completely harmless. And next thing you know, it's like, okay, I shouldn't have been doing that. And you know, eating snow. There was a topic that came up about, you know, letting your kids eat snow. I heard this on the radio. I don't know if other people heard that topic. They wanted to know how many people let their kids eat snow. And it's like you think about all the chemicals and things like that that go into it, you know, not just from what chemicals exist in our rain, again, second half of the show,
Yeah.
but the chemicals and things like that that are, you know, in the ground, the salt that they use to put on the ground, and now this new calcium thing. You know, I don't know what's in that.
Oh, God. It's kind of scary out there, folks. It really is.
Absolutely.
And it used to be so simple.
It was.
You know,
It
when I
was
was
a
a kid,
simpler time.
It was a simpler time. We didn't have the industrial, well, I'm not that old, but the industrial age had not reached to the point that it is now, which is, gosh, we're surrounded by chemicals. We're surrounded by, remember Mrs. Robinson, the movie Mrs. Robinson,
Oh, yeah.
and the husband said, plastics, that's the future, right? It's true.
Yeah.
But oh my God.
Yeah, and technology. I mean, if you think about with computers and cell phones and all of that, you know, and not only the technology, but what goes into making that technology. You're talking about all the copper, the wire, the, you know, transmitters, all that stuff is, you know, going into our environment. What happens when you're throwing out that old computer? What happens when you're getting rid of that old phone? The batteries, the ink cartridges, all those things, you know, from the printers. And, you know, I remember when my mom worked for McDonnell Douglas, and this was back when it was, before it was got merged with Boeing, and we used to go into the computer room. You know, nobody had, you know, their own personal computers. The PCs didn't exist. So we go into the computer room and they used all these letters and dots and numbers and things like that, and they'd make a picture of Snoopy. So I get all excited. You know, it's like, this is amazing. You know, but now look at where we're at with all this color.
That was a room that hummed, wasn't it?
Yes, very loudly.
I remember that. Yes,
The
very
data room,
loudly.
yes.
Yes.
I blame that for part of the reason for my mom's you know, hearing loss was because of that hum. Because that's what she did. She worked in data entry, and that humming.
I've known a lot of people that had the same situation. I was married to one, And I say, why do I have to keep repeating myself? He says, I worked in the computer, in the military, and the computer, and it ruined my ears. Okay. Well, yeah, it did.
It did.
It really
yes,
did.
it did. Yeah.
So thermography. This is a very interesting thing. And to me, it's so interesting that I'm going to have Jamie do thermography on me.
Yes.
And we're going to actually...
Not on the show, though.
Not on the show. No. It would take a couple of shows, part 1, part 2. But actually, you're going to be over at Everything Zen.
Yes.
And Holly Potter is wonderful. She brings in these speakers, these interesting things, and you can participate, workshops or seminars. And the great thing is that it's a day long from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yep.
situation. And once again, it could be covered by your insurance company. And it's a good idea to call them probably and find out
Ahead of time.
Yeah. But Holly can get you scheduled in with Dr. Jamie Lee.
And I believe that's April 11th, right?
That's April 11th.
That's what I have on my calendar. Okay.
There it is, April 11th. Now, Everything Zen is located in Groton. Give Holly a call at this number, 860-861-8978. And Holly will be very happy to get you scheduled. I think she put me on first.
Ooh, first. Yes.
And you're also going to be our speaker at the 6:30 Club, a group that I helped form a while back, which meets in Westerly on the 3rd Tuesday night of every month.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the speaker for Tuesday, March 18th at 6:30.
Yes.
And we encourage people to come at 6. But why don't you do this? Why don't you give Dr. Jamie Lee a call?
Yeah.
Jamie will be very happy to tell you a little bit more about it, because the subject is going to be thermography. And it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, you can come talk to me personally.
And talk to her personally. And we're going to, from time to time, keep showing her website. So that's, it's a lot easier to go to the website for some people.
Yeah, you can email me too. Yeah, the information, contact
Everything's
me right through the
there.
website. Yep.
Yep, absolutely. And I think it's going to be fascinating. I can't wait. I can't wait to find out what's wrong with me. No, but it's more than that. It's finding out so I can come up with a program to get healthier. Yeah. We all need to be healthier.
Yes.
So, we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes, and we're going to talk about the green energy, the environment, and us.
Yes.
It's going to be very interesting. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt. Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
And we're back. We were just talking about that the dog that has that beautiful little expressive face. That's an actor dog that plays on a children's program. He's part Samoyed and part something else. And of course, anybody says Samoyed, I pay attention because I have a Samoyed at home. Only we call them Samoyeds.
Ah,
You have to pronounce it
did not-
properly if you have one.
I did not know that.
And he's adorable. I don't mind following up the dog. But then they showed an environmental clip, which is
like it.
perfect. It's a perfect lead-in for us.
Yes.
Because we're going to be talking about green energy.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we hear that word, it kind of grabs our attention because it affects everything around us, everything that's living around us, and things that are not living, too, probably. I'm just going to read a couple of things here because I thought it was kind of interesting. Not that I want to scare you. I don't want to scare you, but you need to keep these things in mind. According to a 2009 American Lung Association report, 6 of every 10 Americans live in counties where ozone or particle pollution has reached dangerous levels. For instance, half of the state of Texas. Houston is ranked as the 5th most polluted city in the U.S. For ozone pollution, and Dallas-Fort Worth is ranked 7th. And also, every year air pollution claims 70,000 lives in the U.S. That's pretty scary. There's also something else that, if you don't mind, I'll just read it because it was in, I saw it in the Yahoo News and then I saw it in the newspaper. And it's about how the climate is changing and the ice is melting and all of a sudden things are being discovered, whether it's a mastodon or whether it is a mysterious giant virus that's 30,000 years old. This virus that they found, and it got in the news, only infects single-celled organisms and doesn't closely resemble any known pathogens that harm humans. But think about this, okay? If all of a sudden, these viruses are being discovered under the ice that's melting, there are other viruses there. There are viruses that could become dangerous with us. So we do have to pay attention to our environment because it affects us.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Absolutely. And I'm also the AMC Conservation Co-Chair, so another part of my background. And I have to tell you, LA is really up there. I think Los Angeles might be ranked in the top 3 as far as polluted areas. And what happens is it just ends up spreading. You get these little pockets of area where they may be protected, but then when you get this polluted area and this polluted area and they start converging, then you end up with more polluted areas. And I can tell you that the medical group I worked for in California was near Buena Park. I'm using Buena Park as a reference because I think some people know Buena Park because of Knott's Berry Farm. But the medical group was a 5-story building, and you could go up to the 5th story there, and that's where like their cafeteria, lunch area was. And you could look out, it was all windows, and you could look out and you could actually see the layer of smog. So imagine, I'm just in a 5-story building, and I'm seeing that layer of smog, how low that is to, and this is years ago, this is like 15 years ago. So can you imagine where we're at now with our environment? And when you talk about climate change, that's a perfect example because people did not want to hear about global warming. And a lot of people aren't convinced that global warming exists. But you can say, nobody's going to disagree that our climate isn't changing. There is climate change going on. I do presentations at the elementary school about climate change to kids to explain, about recycling and, what can we do for our environment. Because it may not be in a state of, direness right now, but it is. A lot of people don't think it is because we're not physically feeling the impacts, but when you look at the solar ice caps and they're melting and the ocean is rising because of this melting, and then there's a changing in the temperature, and then again, with the storms, I know they say it's a pattern and we see storms come and go and things like that, but there is stressors on our environment, and that stressors lead to stressors on us, and that's where we start to see impact. You're talking about chemicals, you're talking about toxins, you're talking about the food you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe. all have chemicals and toxins in it. Women are carrying more and more chemicals in their body, and some of these chemicals that they're carrying in their body are being transferred to their unborn babies. So babies are being born with hundreds of chemicals and toxins. And they're probably saying, oh, they probably had that before. You know, women before were having babies, they just didn't test or know about it. But a lot of those chemicals and toxins that they're finding in these born, you know, in the new births are chemicals and toxins that are banned in other countries, but they're not banned here. So that tells you something.
Yeah.
Tells you about what is being put in our food, what is being put in the products that we use. In other countries, the food that we make and we send to other countries, sometimes we'll have different ingredients because it's banned in their country. So they actually have to make two different sets of food, one that they can sell here because the chemicals and toxins are allowed, but not in that country, so they actually have to modify the ingredients so that way they can sell these products in that country.
We're supposed to be so smart in this country. We're supposed to be leaders. Why are we so resistant to learning from other countries when we're basically poisoning ourselves by allowing all these chemicals and toxins?
Yeah, it's amazing as far as, you know, how advanced you think that we are when, if you look at it, we're actually one of the sickest nations. We are one of the sickest nations, and it's not necessarily our environment because, again, other countries have really toxic environments too. If you go to some of the Asian countries, they're having to wear masks. That's how polluted it is there. So again, it's going back to, but again, when you look at other countries and how their environment is and how clean it is and their farming, like you can eat, you don't have to necessarily buy organic food there because they don't have the same, they're not giving antibiotics to their beef and or to the cattle and to their animals and things like that. So it's a much cleaner environment because you sit there and go, well, you can't really eat meat here because it's so polluted. And you know, it's a trickle-down effect. I mean, whatever we're giving into the food and the animals is going to go into our bodies. You know, even as simple as the grass-fed. Okay, they're grass-fed, but what's in that grass? What sort of pesticides and herbicides and fungicides have all been poured on our, you know, our land? And then even if you go to our farming, they only put a few of the nutrients and vitamins and minerals back into the ground, but our body takes, you know, a lot more than just 2 or 3 minerals or vitamins to survive. So again, we're just very depleted, you know, based on our environment, based on the food that we eat and the things that we put on our body too. I mean, if you think about the shampoo that you put in your hair, those phthalates that you're putting, that gets absorbed in the skin. Skin's one of the largest organs of our body, the largest organ on our body. So that stuff's being absorbed right into the bloodstream. So those lotions that you're using, those shampoos, the conditioners, look at the ingredients. There's a great website. It's an environmental working group. It's www.ewg.org. You go to that website, it's Environmental Working Group, and they have what is called Skin Deep. And it's right there on the front page. You click on Skin Deep, you can put in what lotions you use, you can put in what shampoo you're using, you can put in what makeup you're using. And it will tell you on a scale of 1 to 10 where it ranks as far as the ingredients. And then it'll tell you, based on that ranking, what sort of damage it could be having. Respiratory damage, nervous system, reproductive system. I mean, you look at people with depression, anxiety, it's actually can lead to that. It can be having an effect on our whole mental stability of what, you know, what goes into our body, what goes on our body. It's affecting our brain, our thoughts. You know, somebody who you think maybe needs anger management could be just what they're putting on their body. Oh, and forget, you know, don't do the aluminum deodorants. You don't want that aluminum getting into your lymph system.
Wow.
I know.
Do I use aluminum deodorants? I guess I have to go to ewd.org.
No, G. It's the Environmental Working Group.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's a G.
G.
Yeah.
.org.
.org.
EWG.org.
Yeah, and click on Skin Deep. Skin Deep is the one that you
Skin
want.
Deep.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes.
Basically, what you're saying is that there's information out there where we can make choices.
Educated choices. Yes.
Educated choices. An example, our friend Holly, she found this this company that was started by a woman and her husband, that the woman's mother had breast cancer. So she wanted to put together natural products. And I've got a super duper sensitive skin. And Holly does facials, and she can't even do facials on me because I just turn red. And I start going itchy, 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 ow, ow. And so she's got this new product line. And this is the first product line that I have tried in a long time that I don't get the red face, and I don't get the itchy skin, and
You're not having an allergic reaction.
I'm not having an allergic reaction to it because it's been manufactured to be all natural products, and she's guaranteed because her mom died from breast cancer. And she said, I am committed to making a difference and helping to save lives. You know, that's what there are people out there that are trying to do that.
Right. Yeah. And that's great because, again, I mean, we live in such a toxic environment. Yeah, I can't even walk into, what is that? What's that? Body bath or bath?
Bath Body Work.
Bath Body Works.
It smells
Body
good
Work.
in there.
I walk by there and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just can feel myself inhaling the toxins, the chemicals. And Yankee Candle's the same way because they use a lot of perfumes and things like that. You don't know what's in that stuff. And it's where they can put all, you know, it's a perfume. Oh, it's an essence. But that's where they can actually put all the chemicals and toxins. Same thing with the ingredients that you find in boxes. My kids hate shopping with me because I'm reading the ingredients and they're like, Mom, you know, and I'm like, I'm not buying it. You know, you see artificial flavors and even natural flavors. You got to be careful of that too because, again, you know, what can be considered natural. And I won't tell you some of the disgusting stuff I know there. You know, but again, it's, you know, understanding, you know, look at the bottle of shampoo that you have or the perfume that you're putting on your body and look at those ingredients. Can you even pronounce half of those ingredients? It's, you know, but again, the FDA regulates it safe, but other countries are banning it. So, you know, it's like, you know, we just need to be educated. That's what's important. That's why I refer a lot of people to this website. Check out your makeup. Check out your shampoos, your lotions. I know a lot of people end up having to throw over half their stuff out because it's got phthalates and things like that. But you know what? What's your health worth?
Yeah.
And that's really the question. And your body can, people will be like, but I feel fine. And it's like, your body can take only so much stress. And when it's under stress, it's taken away from the other things that it could be doing. It's something as simple as your digestive system. When your body is stressed and is having to not work on that other stuff because it is under stress, after a while, that's where illness and disease is going to start to form because the body can't be doing what it's supposed to be doing. The body is very amazing. It can adapt very easily, but only for so long.
Yeah, and we're bombarding our immune systems. And that's one of the problems with so many people today. Their immune systems are breaking down, and they're unable to do their job. And that's when cancer strikes, that's when disease strikes, because we're overstressed.
You make a very good point. It's that stress. You will find that almost everyone who has actually ended up being diagnosed with cancer or some disease has recently been under extreme stress for a long period of time.
Stress in a lot of ways, not just from external environmental conditions and what we eat and what we put on our faces, but inside,
internal and external stresses. Yeah,
everybody's trying to survive today. It's tough out there.
Yeah,
you know, it really is.
And that's why it's so good to make sure that you're doing things that you enjoy to do. I mean, we're like rats on a wheel. You know, we're just going, and I can't tell you, that's something else that shows up on thermography tests. The adrenals. What's happening with the adrenals? Yeah. And we'll find that out too.
My adrenals are overworked. I know that.
You know, so it's again, you know, and we don't sit there and say that, okay, well, you can take this supplement or you can do this. It's really finding what works holistically for you. Do you enjoy going for walks? It's not like you have to go and run marathons or go to the gym and lift weights and things like that, but it's really taking the time to do the things that you enjoy doing, because those are things that are going to make you feel good. Those are things that are going to relax you. You know, it's like going out for a walk in nature. That's one of my grounding things. I love hiking in the woods. That's just, and you know, a lot of times people want to go hiking in groups, and I do that. I'm a hike leader for AMC, so I'll lead hikes in, you know, different areas, and also we look at I do non-invasive species hikes and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
I know, we did one at Bluff Point a couple of years ago, and you know, so we look at the invasive species again. Now you're looking at environmental impacts. I didn't mean to segue into that.
No,
but
that's okay. Good. It's good.
But what it does is when we look at what people are bringing into either accidentally or on purpose, you know, we find these cute plants that would be great here, but then they end up taking over, you know, and plants will get purposely planted because maybe they'll bring in the birds. But then they're not really native to this area, so they end up growing in abundance and pushing out the native plants. So now you're looking at ecological changes in our environment. So that's things that, you know, you have to be careful. You think it's as simple as, oh, I'm just planting this tree. After I did the first non-invasive species hike, I went back home, found out I had 3 invasive species in my own yard. Not that I planted them there, they were there before I got there. But, you know, there can be ones that are okay, they're invasive, but they may not be detrimental to our environment, meaning they won't push other plants out. But you have to be very careful. Japanese barberry, the mile-a-minute weed, they're always doing extraction of that, because that just, as fast as you pull it out, it's growing right back. And the Japanese barberry, I think that one was planted in Connecticut because it had these berries on it that attracted the birds. And but now you can't. And then the wind blows. And I ended up with it in my yard only because they did an extraction at a trail near my house. It's also how I ended up with wild blueberries. So that wasn't a bad thing. Or not blueberries, blackberries. I have blackberries in my yard, and I like those because I'll go pick those during the fall season and have fresh blackberries.
You know, I'm planning some shows called Around Our Community. And it came from a discussion that I had with some people at the Big Book Club Getaway a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to do a show about getting to know your state. And what I'd love to do, and maybe you can be a part of that. Ooh. You can lead our little hikes into the wilderness in Connecticut. That. And we'll have Chris, our strong man, with the heavy, you know, camera following us along, and we'll do a little remote kind of a thing, and talking about, you know, our environment. There's some really cool places around the state that, and I won't go too much more into it, but just, you know, kind of get you baited a little bit for some of the things that are in the future. Yeah, yeah, we're going to do some cool stuff.
Yeah, keep you coming back.
Yeah, but our environment, I mean, it's changing.
It is.
And a lot of it is, you know, people will say, well, you know, I know we're having climate change. I know that we're surrounded by bad chemicals and stuff, but, you know, I'm just one person. What can I do?
Mm-hmm. You get that a lot, yes, you know, but one person can make a difference. And when I was doing the presentations at the elementary school, it's amazing that these small kids, because I've done kindergarten, I did 4th grade, it was very interesting. The one that I did to the 4th graders, they were just in the process of writing a letter to the President Obama, to do more about our environment. So it was perfect timing. So I went in there. But I mean, even when I was doing the presentation to the kindergartens, when I asked them, what can you recycle? Oh my gosh, everybody's hand went up. You know, they were naming off, you know, paper and plastic and aluminum. So, you know, it was good to hear that these kindergartners knew what they could recycle. So the message is getting out there, and you see it when you go to the mall. You'll see, you know, where you can put your paper, where you can put your plastic bottles and things like that. And, you know, and that's the thing is that, you know, when you look at all those plastic bottles, when you think of the trillions of plastic bottles, you know, those bottled waters that we're getting because we're trying to be healthy and, you know, drink some bottled water, when I'll just show you, I just keep reusing the same cup and, you know, put my water in there. And one of the things that I can share with you is there's a website, findaspring.com, or it might be .org. I can get back to you on that.
Find a spring.
And I went on there and I found one that's right here in Connecticut, and it's in Stonington. And what they do is they test the water, so they find out, you know, and drinking spring water doesn't cost you anything. Go there with your jugs, fill it up. And of course, you know, people are like, no, buy my bottled water. You know, no, go there and get natural spring water. You know, there's definitely healthier ways to be drinking water. I know bottled water, but again, you know, you have your tap water, you have your fluoride in that. That's another thing. Fluoride is a toxin. You know, it's in a lot of the stuff that we have. It's in our toothpaste, and we really don't need it in our toothpaste. We really don't need it in our water, even though the government says so. You know what? When the government learns how to run the country, then they can run my health life. But
yeah. Well, you know, even bottled water is not guaranteed to be good stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know, and you get the plastic and those, you know, plastics leaching into the water. Definitely don't be drinking any bottled water that you left in your car, especially on a warm day.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are just things that you really got to be careful of. And again, you don't know what you don't know. And so, you know, that's why I'm trying to give these little websites, you know, that you can go to. But yeah, it's in North Stonington. You just go there. There's a little spout. It's been tested. They do a testing. If you go to the website, they'll let you know what's going on with water, because they go to, and there's one for every state. You know,
that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, somebody had asked me, is there one in New Jersey? And I went and just put, you know, I see little pegs, you know, when you go to the website, you can see the little pegs that'll say, you know, where these springs are in different states.
So there are things that are being done slowly and steadily, but each one of us needs to take control of our own lives and our own surroundings, our family, our home, what we eat, what we use on our faces, what we use for deodorants, you know, all of that.
What are we putting in our body and on our body, you know?
And take that control, and maybe if enough of us do it, things will be better.
Yeah.
I certainly hope.
I found this very interesting. Somebody, you know, because we do have so many bottled waters, you know, all these plastic bottles, and, you know, some of them getting into the ocean and into the water and things. And somebody had taken a bunch of water bottles and made a island, and they live on it. And they actually, they have
recycling.
Yes, that was recycling at its ultimate. I think we even posted that on the AMC website under Conservation in Connecticut. And I had a little post up there. I also have an AMC conservation page on Facebook too, where I'll put things. You know, we do different showings about our environment. If you can become a member of that group, it's the AMC Conservation Group, and it's on Facebook. And I'll put postings out there about different movies that we're showing about our environment, about water, anything like that. But I think I posted on there about this bottle island. And you can even see he's got self-sustaining plants on there and different things like, you know, so it's just become this self-sustaining, you know, he's living off of this, you know, the plants and the food, he's generating his own food on there. But there's also other things, and I'm not telling everybody to go get an electric car or go get a hybrid car. I myself did get solar panels put on my roof. So my house is here, you know, in Mystic, Connecticut, and I have solar panels. I get almost 100% of my electricity from the sun now. You know, winter months are a little bit harder, but, you know, during the spring and summer, I was in excess. You know, so the, you know, electric company, CLMP, does buy that back. You know,
which is
so
good. That's
yeah,
a good
at
thing.
one point, you know, almost my whole daily intake was being bought back by CLMP. So it became a kind of like my little buffer for these winter months where we don't get as much sun. So
And there are government incentives for
Absolutely.
that. There are some programs
Yeah.
In the state of Connecticut.
it didn't cost me anything down. Because of the incentive, I was able to use that as my down payment, so it did not cost me anything to have those solar panels. They came out and even did an assessment of my home, and I just pay a monthly fee now for the solar panels.
That's amazing.
Which
Amazing.
is like a quarter of what my electric bill would have been. Yeah.
Wow.
So
See?
it was a win-win. It was, you
Yeah.
know, it was good for the environment, and it was, you know, using our, you know, green energy, using solar and things like that. But it was also a win-win to the pocketbook.
And you know, we all like that. We all like
Yes.
that. Jamie, this has been wonderful.
I
This
am
has
so
been
glad.
wonderful.
And I can't believe that our time is, I feel like I have so much
know.
more to say.
Oh, and indeed she does, and I'm sure. And we'll have to have you back on again.
Oh, I would love
okay?
to. I would
And
love
we'll
to.
go hiking together with
Oh,
Chris,
yes.
who's in the control room with the heavy camera.
Yeah, there's wonderful places local, that we can do, Bluff Point, and just
Yeah.
even in our own neighborhood, And it's great for the kids, too. Get them outside.
Exactly, exactly. We'll give you some ideas, okay, on those segments. In the meantime, I have some announcements. I'd like to fill you in on our next upcoming shows. Next week, Safe Futures is going to be here.
Love
And
them.
they are just wonderful people that do wonderful things to help people who are victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. It's just a wonderful organization. And Chris is going to be here the week after that with some sports figures. And Autism Speaks is going to be our guest for the 1st of April. But there may be a little bit of change here because those of you who don't know, where we film this show, our studios in Groton are going to be moving. So there's going to be, I hate to use the term dead air because it won't be dead air, but there might be some repeats.
A gap?
So
And no pun intended.
So what we're going to try to do is we're going to come up with something unique to have in the can so that for a week that we may not be able to actually do production, we will have something that'll still be interesting for you and not a repeat, okay? Because I hate those.
I liked your idea, though, the best of.
Yeah, I like that too.
I really
a little bit
like
of
it.
interesting stuff. Here's some upcoming events. Get out your calendar. And we have the 19th Annual Men Against Domestic Violence Radiothon, and that is with Safe Futures. But you can learn more about againstviolence.org. That's where that's the website you can learn more. And it's almost all month long on Hull Radio. The kickoff celebration of success on skateboards. Not easy to say when you've lost a tooth. Whistle, whistle. On April 5th in Norwich and April 6th in Farmington. Go to their Facebook page, which is facebook.com/success on skateboards.
Oh, jeez. It's like that Brady Bunch episode with Cindy who had the lisp.
The lisp, yes. And here we go with on April 12th from 10 to 4, the Craft and Author Show at the VFW Post in Pawcatuck. Tom Santos, who has a show on the station, is the one too. And there's his phone number, and you can learn more about that. And one last announcement here is the 7th Annual Autism Speaks Yukon TKE 5K Walk Run on Sunday, April 13th in Storrs, Connecticut. And for more information on that, you can go to this website, events.autismspeaksu.org. And if you would like your charitable organization or service business events on our show, just send us an email on fromthiscornertv@gmail.com. And in closing, I would like to say thank you so much, Jamie. This has been
thank you.
fun. It's been very fun. And remember, next week we will have Safe Futures with us. So, so come back and join us. Okay? Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.